And welcome to another episode of Your Next Favorite Movie. I'm your host, Josh G. And today I am joined by Brooke. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
Oh, absolutely. Now, obviously, we met through film Twitter, and I guess I should have asked before we started recording. Do you have anything you'd like to promote? I know you've done other podcasts. You can at least promote that if you want.
Always have. Yeah, I've been on a couple different podcasts. I was on Fan to Fan. I've been on about 3 or 4 episodes of that. I was on Stamper Cinema, which is run by Andrew Stamper. He's awesome. And that's it for now. I'm kind of thinking of a podcast idea here, 1 or 2. So we'll see how that goes in the future.
All right, awesome. Just let us know. Make sure to help you retweet that and get that out there anyway, get the word out. But for tonight, we're going to go back to your favorite movie, going back to 1991, James Cameron, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. All right, so when did you first see this?
So I saw Terminator 2 when it first came out in the theater. So it would be like July 1991. With my sister. So my sister's about 6.5 years older than me. And she said, we are going. I was 11 going on 12. So I wasn't, if it was July, it would have been right before my 12th birthday. And she's a big fan of Terminator 1. So she was like, we're going. Mom, I'm taking Brooke. I know she's a little bit too young, but we're going to do it. And I fell in love. I mean, the movie is just from start to finish, action-packed, just full of something for everyone.
Okay, well, that helps get into. Tell a little bit, everyone, about this movie, what it is.
So, I mean, if you haven't heard of
I know,
or Terminator 2, which most people have, but if you haven't, it's this movie in particular is about young John Connor. He's about 10 years old. He is in the future, he will become the leader of the human resistance against the machines, which is headed by Skynet, which is the organization that creates for lack of a better term, evil robots that want to take over the world. And so John Connor is the leader of the resistance, and he sends himself back through time. So as an adult, he sends himself back through time or not himself, but the Terminators, the good Terminator, to protect him, because he knows that there's going to be a Terminator sent to assassinate him, to prevent him from being this great leader. So pretty much he is a little kid, and he is being followed by the T-1000, who is the bad Terminator out to get him. And he's being protected by the T-800, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And they're on a mission he's of course on a mission to protect John Connor. And John wants to go get his mom out of the mental institution where she's been placed, because over the years, she's done all these crazy things to protect to try to save the world. So it's pretty much from start to finish, just chase after chase, lots of action, lots of emotion, lots of character development. It's a great film all around.
All right, so we're gonna dive into the actual sequels here in a minute. But before that, had you seen the first Terminator when you saw this?
No, I had not.
Okay, so you had no idea. Well, I didn't either. I hadn't seen the first Terminator when I saw this either. So I didn't know about, for those that don't know, Arnold was the bad Terminator in the first movie. And I think you go back and watch the trailer and they spoil that he's the good guy in this one. They should not have put that in the trailer. That should have been a huge surprise for true Terminator fans.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that. Now, I don't remember all that. I just remember going to see it and kind of figuring it out. And my sister kind of explaining to me, okay, well, in the old one, he was bad. And I remember her being surprised, though. Okay. So maybe she didn't see the trailer. Well. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, at the time, I wasn't surprised because I hadn't seen it either. But I can look back on that trailer now and just think about those people who had grown up with it going to see it. I'd hate to see the trailer and have it ruined. But what are your thoughts on the original Terminator? Let's talk about that first.
So the original Terminator, obviously, I saw that later. I think I probably saw it shortly after I saw the second one in the theater, because I was so obsessed with it. I saw it, by the way, 6 more times. My sister and I went to see it in the theater 6 more times, and they had a theater called the Bremen Theater, where I'm from, in the suburbs of Chicago, which would play like dollar movies. So the first 1 or 2 times, I think we paid, regular prices and saw it at the regular theater, and then we saw it at the dollar theater several times after that. So yeah, 7 times total. So then, yeah, I think we went home, and she's like, I'm going to show you the first one. And honestly, I love the first one. I can't say I love it as much. And I know a lot of people do like the first one better. And the first one almost has like a horror vibe to it. It's like a sci-fi horror, like a slasher, which I love because I'm a big fan of the horror genre. So I really enjoyed it from the beginning. And I think over the years, as I've gotten older, I've enjoyed it more because there's so much in that movie. There's a little bit of humor in the beginning, I guess, but there's a romance, there's sci-fi, there's action. It's just packed. I mean, it's got even more than T2 in some ways. The story is just unbelievable. I mean, just for James Cameron to have thought of this story is amazing.
All right. So said you saw it 7 times in theater. So I think it's probably safe to say it was like immediately your favorite movie.
I didn't know at the time because I was only 12. Like,
Well,
I
that's
didn't
true,
know.
too.
So it took me over the years, and I'm like a list maker. I like to say, oh, this is my favorite. I have a top 3 movies. So I have a top 10, I have a top 20. So over the years, as I thought about all the films I've seen and how much I enjoyed this or that about different films, I really had to say that Terminator 2 is my favorite. And, normally I'm more of an independent film person. Like, my second and third movies are Eternal Sunshine and Lost in Translation, totally different films, more romance indie. But there's just something about this movie. It's so well done. The character development and the plot. You're not going to find many movies made today that have that level of writing.
Because, yeah, that's where I was going next is what is it that keeps bringing you back to this one? Like you even said you loved the first one. So
I think it's the character of Sarah Connor and how she grows and what she turns into in the second movie is so appealing to me. And I think it appealed to me from the very beginning as a young girl, because you don't see a lot of women like that who are that you can really look up to as a hero. She's the hero of that movie. She saves the world, essentially. It's not Arnold Schwarzenegger's character. It's not Edward Furlong. I mean, yes, down the line, he is going to be the leader of the resistance, but it's because of Sarah Connor. She is the hero of the film. And I think that just appealed to me so much, is that women can do whatever men can do. And it's not really shown in movies, but in that movie, it is.
Okay. So, well, I wasn't planning on asking this, but that brings it up. When did you first see Alien? Just out of curiosity. I just want to know about with Ellen Ripley and everything.
So Alien would have been later that I actually saw. I mean, I know the movie is 79, so that's when I was born, but it was probably shortly after that I saw Alien, I would guess, maybe when I was like 13 or 14.
Okay. So did you look up to Ripley like you looked up to Sarah Connor?
Yeah, I mean, definitely that was a character that you could look up to for sure, but it didn't hit me the same way for whatever reason. Maybe because Sarah Connor's a mother and she's teaching her child, and it's just so obvious. With Ripley, yeah, she's a great woman, strong character, heroic character. But I guess maybe, since it wasn't the first one I saw.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to. Yeah, I was just curious about that because I know you can link those together at times.
Oh, sure.
All right, so let's get into these sequels. What are your thoughts on the sequels?
Oh gosh, the sequel. So the third one, it had potential. it had the story was kind of there. And I need to rewatch it because I've only seen it one time. And this was back in like, when did that movie come out? I don't know.
2003.
Okay. So yeah, I saw it probably 2004.
Okay.
And the actors were just wrong for the movie. Everything was just wrong. Claire Danes, I do like her. She's a good actor, or I just don't think she was right for that role at all. Like she just didn't appeal to me at all. Who was, and I don't remember the guy, is he in Lost? What's his name? Who
played John Connor?
John Connor, yeah.
I think it was Nick Stahl.
Nick Stahl. Okay,
Yeah,
Nick Stahl.
yeah.
Yeah, didn't do it for me. The cast, there was a female Terminator in there. Am I wrong? Okay.
Christiana Loken. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It had potential, and things about it not everything about it was awful. Not my favorite movie. And I really haven't seen the other two. I tried to watch what Salvation is the next one, correct? With Christian Bale?
Yeah.
So I tried to watch that and I was so bored, I turned it off. And I keep telling myself I need to give it another shot. And I haven't even gotten into Genesis because I was like, well, if I didn't like Salvation, I'm not going to like that one. But I've heard they're better than the third one. What are your thoughts on those?
Well, okay. So I have not watched Salvation.
Okay.
I have not watched Genesis, but I did watch Dark Fate.
I did too.
Okay, you watched Dark Fate?
Okay. Those two, but I watched Dark Fate.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
And and maybe you're like me, it was probably because Sarah Connor came back.
Yes.
I wanted to see what they were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is random, but I like to bring this up to people. Did you watch Dexter? Not the new season, but the original 8 seasons?
Well, all of it, yeah, the new and the old. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I haven't watched the new season, so I don't know how they rectify the ending of Dexter, but I always tell people after I watched Dark Fate that I just like to assume that Dexter turned into Arnie living out there in the woods when they go find him. That's how Dexter ended. Good point. That's a good one.
That's
how he looked. He looked like way Dexter ended, which was a terrible ending for Dexter. But you're saying they rectified it. I'm glad to hear it. I'm going to catch up on it at some point. But all right. So now let's erase all those sequels and say you got to have your own sequel. What would you have liked to have seen?
So and forgive me if, and you don't know this because you haven't seen them, if maybe it's touched on in Salvation and Genesis, but I wanted more of like the backstory with Kyle Reese, because that was interesting to me, like the whole Kyle Reese. And they took out that one scene, if you've seen the director's cut, which most people have, of T2, there's that scene where Kyle Reese comes back in a dream sequence to Sarah Connor and talks to her. And no, it's not necessary for the plot of the film, but I think it would have been good to leave that in. And I think that if I was going to make a sequel, I would focus on him and maybe make a whole story around him and his relationship with John Connor and what that means going forward, and just that father-son relationship. And that's very interesting to me. Okay, you knew each other as adults, and then he went back and created you. That's so interesting to me. And I think if they touched more on that, I would have been really interested. And then also to see kind of, and I guess they did this with that show, the Sarah
Connor
Chronicles, which I didn't watch, but to see more of her, Sarah Connor, in the interim, like when she was at her, craziest, quote unquote, like when she was training John and teaming up with all those boyfriends, like he says in the movie, where she's learning about guns and learning all this military stuff. I think that would have been really cool to see.
Okay. All right. Funny enough, when I rewatched it this week, it's first time in years, I actually watched the director's cut for the first time. So
okay.
Yeah, so I saw that scene because I was watching. I was like, I didn't even realize I was watching the director's cut. I was like, I don't remember this at all. And it was a lot longer. And then they had that ending that's on this one versus the way it ended on the original. Yeah.
With the old Sarah Connor.
Old Sarah Connor, yes. Which Dark Fate proves she did not look like that as old Sarah Connor. So
correct. Yes. And there's a lot of weird stuff. I mean, you can't think too much about the timelines because then you're like, well, how did this happen?
Yeah,
It's
that's
so
true. That's fair.
confusing. And you have to be like a scientist to figure this stuff out, which I am nowhere near.
Neither am I, so I can agree with that. All right, so now let's go to the dreaded remake. And if they actually remake this and don't try to de-age Arnie or any of that stuff that they do, which I think they do that in Genesis, I feel like they did something like that, but I didn't watch
They
it.
do
So
that
positive.
they do that in a lot of films now, which I have mixed feelings about it. I think it's a good idea, but at the same time, it looks weird. Let's just say it looks weird. So new cast, if they remade it, which would be a travesty, but if they did, I'm thinking Jennifer Lawrence for Sarah Connor. I think she's a good, strong female actress. I think she could bring a lot to that role. And this is going to sound weird because he's in the sequels, but Christian Bale as the T-1000. Oh. Yeah. as the evil guy. Yeah.
Yep.
And then for Arnie, I think this was very hard. This took me a long time. I actually just before we got on, it finally clicked. Channing Tatum.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's a weird one. Not everyone, most people are going to say, oh, The Rock or John Cena or some big, bulky guy.
Right.
No, I don't, which Channing Tatum, I think he's a good body, but he's not bulky. I think he could bring a lot today. He's kind of stoic and stone faced. I can't think of I don't know a lot of kid actors. Do you? It's hard
I really don't
to come up with who could be the young John Connor. That would be difficult. Now there's some teenage actors. I don't know their names that are interesting to me. There's a kid that's in that show You on Netflix. Okay. He plays the next door neighbor in the newest season, and he's 17, but he's too old. Yeah, because even though Edward Furlong gives off kind of I would think he gives off more of a teenage vibe in that film. He's only supposed to be 10.
Yeah, that's crazy to me because he's definitely not 10, but he's not 17 either. So I can see why you wouldn't want to go that high either.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know a lot of kid actors. So that one, I'm going to say I'm not qualified to answer that one.
Trust most people when they have kids, they just go, I don't know, someone from Stranger Things. Because that seems to be the default
good idea.
Answer.
Yeah. I mean, that would be good. One of those kids, the kid with the big curly hair. I don't know. That wouldn't be right. So I don't know their names. I did watch the show, but it's been a while, so I don't know who is who on that show.
Okay. No, that's fair. No, and that's fair. And you gave everyone else. All right. Last thing. For anyone out there who maybe actually has not watched T2, give that final pitch on why they just need to be suck it up, take that chance, and give it a watch.
Yeah, and there's probably, and I know people that haven't seen it, especially women in my age group. They're like, why do you like that movie? I'm like, no, just give it a chance. Because I would say, and depending on who it was, if it was a woman, I could say, look, Sarah Connor, you're going to really love this character. You're going to really have a lot to relate to with this character. But honestly, I would just say, if you like a good story and you like a quick movie, even though the movie is over 2 hours long, it's quick moving because it's so action packed. I would say you have to check it out just because it's got everything. It's got comedy. I mean, it's got, in the beginning of the movie, the whole sequence with him going into the bar and making the smart comments, and then Bad to the Bone plays. It's got comedy. It has great character development. The story is something that you'll think about for days. It's someone trying to save the world. I mean, who doesn't like that? That's what I would touch on.
And I'll just add, groundbreaking special effects still hold up. The T-1000 effects are still amazing.
Yes. And they didn't have, I mean, yeah, there was CGI to a certain extent, but not like it is today. So they had to work hard.
Yeah, yeah. And for it, normally when you go back to an early '90s movie and watch it, it's laughable, but not in this one. Not in this one.
No, it looks very good. There's a couple times where you can see the stunt doubles and how they're different. There's that one scene when Arnold's on the bike where it's clearly a stunt double, but you're like, okay, it was the 90s. What are you going to do?
Yeah. I didn't think we'd be looking at it in 4K now.
No, yeah, no one did.
I don't even think James Cameron was expecting that one.
No, and it looked really good. I watched it just last night and I was surprised. I was like, wow, this movie does not seem like it's this old.
Yeah, I saw you watch it last night. Like, that's why I was like, oh, the timing.
Well, I'm a contributor to the organization of the films in that group. So yeah, we do a live tweet, if anyone doesn't know, every Friday night of usually 80s movies. We sometimes go into the 90s, sometimes the 2000s to break it up a little bit. And usually we'll do, a fun movie, something that's tweetable and people can have fun with. And that was a really fun one last night.
All right, so we talked about tweeting. So why don't you go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you?
So my handle on Twitter is @QueenDoubleB. So that's spelled out. So it's Queen, the word double and B is my handle. And my name is Brooke, Queen of Wands, which is, if anyone knows about tarot cards, it's a tarot card. Everyone always asks me, what does Queen of Wands mean? Well, it's a tarot card. My sign is symbolic and matches with the Queen of Wands because I'm a Leo.
Oh, well, there you go. I had no idea. I didn't ask, but I didn't know. So
just in case you're wondering.
Yeah, so there you go. And as always, you can follow the show at YNF Movie Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Available wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to come back next week. I don't know what I have coming next week right now because I'm recording this a little early. So until then, you guys take care and I'll talk to you next time.